Ladies and gentlemen, I only got one thing to say. Paul de Gelder. My man, you stole the show. You stole the night. You stole the day. You might have stolen the week. Paul de Gelder did some of the most, I don't know, he had the most presence so far this Shark Week. And honestly, it might be the entire Shark Week. If they have a Shark Week trophy, it goes to Paul this year. It goes to Paul. Listen, let's just jump right into this, all right? So we had our 3 shows for the night, all right? And this is Tuesday. So I'm almost forgetting the dates. It was Tuesday the 22nd, all right? Tuesday, July 22nd. But our 3 shows were Great White Northern Invasion, How to Survive a Shark Attack, and Black Mako of the Abyss. Right? Now, let's I feel like this video is going to be a little shorter because I don't even care about half the other stuff. Paul. Now, let me just say, Tuesday, for me, was the best day of the week so far. Sunday and Monday don't even compare to Tuesday. Tuesday was fantastic. Do you understand me? Listen, Great White Northern Invasion, solid scientific research. It was just so interesting. We got one of our stars back at it again. ABC, Andy Dandy Casagrande, was out there in Canadian waters, right? Great North, exploring a new population of great whites that I believe was first showcased last year on Shark Week, right? And he was back again, just trying to gather more information, more details about these sharks, where they might be moving, getting some more tags going, some more acoustic tags, and just tracking their movements and really like trying to solidify that this area is a great white hotspot. And upon getting there, I think they had 2, maybe 3, but I think it was 2 breaches in less than 5 minutes. Multiple sharks spotted. Like, it wasn't even, no doubt whatsoever. All right? That is an established great white hotspot. And they were in Nova Scotia. It was amazing. And I also heard one of the locals. So I'm not going to say a local as in a local civilian, but one of the local scientists. I don't remember his name. I apologize. And if you do happen to know, please place it down in the comments. But I do believe I remember hearing the captain say that he hosts dives out there. I might have to take a visit. Although the frigid Nova Scotia water is not tempting, the shark experience is. So I might have to go check that out. I'm not going to lie. You got me there. All right. So that was show number 1. All right. They did some solid research, trying to tag as many sharks as they could. Dope. If I remember correctly, I believe they were trying to tag both male and female. Of course, but just trying to get as much data as possible to paint a complete picture. There was also a decent sense of danger there because there was an artificial wreck that was created out there. I believe it was like a naval tanker or a naval ship that was sunk to create an artificial reef. And they had to basically, plant some technology in the area. And I believe an acoustic reader over there just to determine whether or not that area is being utilized by some of the local sharks. And listen, solid watch. I'm going to say solid watch, definitely worth it. Very strong start. And the science was solid. I'm going to skip the second show and jump to the last one. The last show was Black Mako of the Abyss, which was interesting, Because although if you're a shark scientist, you're definitely going to be able to throw out some of the hypotheses like this is probably nonsense, but it was interesting because it made your mind wander, right? It brought back the wonder, right, in sharks, and not even just shark, but natural shark evolution, right? So first of all, in this show, you had Paul DeGelder, Tristan Guttridge, Kendall Berner, and Jason Hightower, right? So forgive me again if I got it wrong, but I believe it was Jason, who works out there, right? He had located a black mako shark, like a mako shark darker than the typical mako sharks in that area, right? So typically in that area you find short fin mako, right? Which typically have like a metallic or like a neon blue coloration to them, short fins, more narrow jaw, right? And the shark that he found and video recorded, which was actually amazing footage, way darker and seemed to have a wider jaw in comparison, right? The pigmentation on that shark was definitely different. It wasn't even just like dark on the top, right? Your counter shading, like different from that. Even the base of it, the bottom, the underbelly, where you typically have that white, there was a lot of black splotches in there. And they threw out a bunch of different hypotheses as to why this mako looks so different. Everything ranging from Paul DeGelder bringing up interbreeding, right? Interbreeding is actually viable. He brought up interbreeding at one point between a possible great white and a mako. Now, as amazing as I would love that, and it instantly brought me back to like Deep Blue Sea, even though that's not necessarily what happened, Deep Blue Sea felt like that. Yeah, it was just kind of like, I know this is not real, but I wish. Because if we could get a hybrid great white mako shark, the beauty. Do you understand? Yes, but they explored that. They also wanted to try and get some genetic samples. They also explored the fact that it could have potentially been a different species of mako, namely the longfin mako, right? Longfin mako, of course, having longer fins, as suggested by the name, but also they typically have a darker coloration, right? And a longfin mako being in those waters would be different, right? I do believe that hypothesis is very viable, right? I also wonder if it's a possibility of crossbreeding between the short fin and the long fin mako. That, in my opinion, that's another possibility. That's the most likely candidate if we do have hybridization or crossbreeding, right? Another possibility was also just mutation, right? Which is another reason why they needed a genetic sample, because you could have just had like a mutation that could have caused darker skin color. Another thing that I thought about was also just like hyperpigmentation, right? We do have some, like they brought up albinoism, right? It does occur in multiple species, including sharks. But you can also have the opposite, where you have a hyperpigmentation to where it like colors the animal the complete opposite, like almost like a complete black or something like that, right? Yeah, so the show was solid. They did some excellent, solid research. They were trying their best to get these samples. It was definitely difficult, to say the least, because you're trying to find a needle in a haystack, right? You're in these waters. You're trying to find not necessarily one specific individual, but one type of specific shark. In a sea full of makos, you're trying to find the black mako in a sea full of blue ones. So that was difficult, right? But they did have some success, right? So they did actually get some footage, at least, of some black makos, right? Which was extremely interesting, right? So there is one aspect about Black Mako of the Abyss that I really liked. Something that is kind of, it's not spoken about much, but it was nice to see, especially on the big stage, right? They failed to get a genetic sample. They weren't able to tag the black mako. They weren't able to get a genetic sample, a piece of the fin or a piece of the flesh, to be able to do genetic testing. And what I liked about that, first of all, of course, we were all rooting for them and hoping that they got their sample. But the part that I liked is that it showed this, that the science is real. This is not scripted. This is not just all for Shark Week. They're actually trying to gather data. And gathering this data is not that easy. It takes time. It takes patience. And it takes persistence. Right? And I feel as though this highlighted that. Because, of course, we're going to see this same show or a variation of it come back next year. Because the research is ongoing. Right? You don't always get what you want when you're doing research. Sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 tries, right? And for that, I really respected what they were doing and what they were and weren't able to accomplish, right? Not everything's a victory, but you learn a lot from your shortcomings, because those things, let me not even just say shortcomings, because there are opportunities now, all right? And that was amazing to see. But for the main event, the second show of the night, how to survive a shark attack. Paul DeGelder. There were some other people in there, and of course, again, you can put their names down in the comments or whatever it is, but oh my God. First of all, I already said, listen, I'm taking this show. If I have to download it, I'm using this show. That was amazing. What do you do? Paul, who was a known shark attack survivor, right? Was a part of the Australian military, was doing a safety dive, like a training, and was attacked by a bull shark in Sydney Harbor, lost an arm and a leg to that bull shark that day. Came back and proceeded to then fight for shark conservation once he learned more about sharks and how important they are to our environment, right? To the ecosystem. This man put himself back in danger to showcase what to do and what not to do during a shark attack in different scenarios. And so, first of all, Paul crazy. Paul is insane, right? Because he was in real danger, first of all. There's only but so much scripting you can do when you are trying to induce a shark attack, because that's what he was doing. In the majority of those situations, he was purposely trying to get attacked, just to show you what not to do. First of all, thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your military sacrifice, but also thank you for your Shark Week sacrifice, because now, his first showcase, right, of what to do was if you're scuba diving, right? And while scuba diving, what he did, what they had the team do, he created a prosthetic arm, right? It looked like a more realistic arm, albeit it was definitely elongated, right? You could definitely see it wasn't like normal human proportions. It was elongated for safety reasons, obviously, right? But he had a prosthetic arm because his arm goes to about like right here. So he had a prosthetic arm that was created that he attached on, and he purposely made a tiger shark bite that arm off. And then fill the water with synthetic blood. Like, which low-key induced like a little mini frenzy there. Like, bruh, that was now. It was definitely heart-wrenching. He did make sure that he placed that arm correctly into the shark's mouth, but awesome sauce. Now, he also did another experiment where he basically simulated what it would be like getting attacked if you were offshore, right? Because we all know that many shark attacks occur at least 15 feet from the shore in about 3 feet of water, right? Up to like waist level. So he basically went over what to do and what not to do when you're in that scenario to prevent yourself from being attacked, right up the shoreline. Now, in that one, he did not induce a shark attack on purpose. They just basically spoke about it and what to do. The third one that he did was what to do if you get attacked when you're doing a water sport, right? So what he did was kayaking, right? So what's going on if you happen to be, swimming or kayaking and, the motion, it attracts a shark, right? For this one, he actually created a prosthetic leg now and allowed the leg to dangle off the side of the kayak. Now, what do you think happened? What you think happened? Yeah, a shark came and bit that leg off. Wasn't even a tiger shark, wasn't a hammer, wasn't even a silver tip. It was a reef shark. One reef shark. They started bumping the kayak and bumping the and after that one bump the kayak, the rest of them kind of was just like, okay, what's that? What's going on? Let's go see. And the one took the bite out of the leg, ripped that leg right off. That filled the water again with the synthetic blood. Honestly speaking, because they didn't even use the term synthetic blood, they said that blood was specifically engineered, basically trying to attract the sharks, which made me think they might have mixed in some fish blood with that. But either way, it got the sharks worked up. And to add on to that, Paul then purposely flipped over the kayak to show what you should do if your kayak happens to flip over. All while the blood is still all around him. Now, I'm not going to tell you the step-by-steps of what you should do because I want you to watch the show. Again, the show was fantastic. Excuse me, fantastic. Go watch that show. But nonetheless, he did that. And even during that, there was a moment where one of the reef sharks came in and bit him for real. He got attacked again. All for us. Thank you, Paul. Now, there was a last one, right? So in the last demonstration, it was what to do if you happen to get shipwrecked. If for some reason you find yourself out in the middle of the ocean and what should you do, right? I will say this. The one thing you should never do in any of these situations is panic. Panicking, it almost rewires your brain to not do the things that make sense, right? So don't do that. But it was him and another scientist. I can't remember her name right now. I do apologize. There was a woman in the water with him, and it was basically what do you do? And they had to actively, while staying afloat, gather materials, signal, do all types of things in real time while there were sharks around them. And even though it was a demonstration, you could see the real life struggle that they were going through. And then while the boat and the safety crew, because they weren't in the water with them on this one. On the other ones, you at least had safety divers. In this one, there was no safety divers. They were looking on like, okay, Paul, it's time to come back in. Paul's still going. He's still talking. He's still explaining. There was at one point, I think before the demonstration, where the producer said, just for the record, I am not okay with you doing this. Oh my gosh. Listen, all I gotta say is go watch this show. Tuesday was the best night so far. I don't know if they're gonna top this because that was fantastic. Okay. Oh man, Paul. Round of applause, man. Round of applause. Because you entertained the crap out of my whole family. All right, peoples. You already know. We got another night coming up. All right. Wednesday. We'll see what you got in store for us. But this was fantastic. But the rest of you guys out there, guys, gals, sharks, and rays, and skates, and everything in between, stay jawsome, my friends.